Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on YouTube, as well as the Grid Network YouTube channel, the Carving It Up YouTube channel, and on X. I'm Bryson Carver, as always. I hope everybody out there had a fantastic weekend. I got to say, and this will bleed into our first segment regarding Shedeur Sanders. Friday night, we're obviously approaching Star Wars weekend coming up. Star Wars Day, May the 4th be with you, coming up on Sunday. Revenge of the Sith came out over the weekend, or was re-released over the weekend. Oh my goodness, was that excellent stuff. Seen it in a full theater full of Star Wars fans. So shout out to Revenge of the Sith, Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor, everybody. George Lucas, obviously the mastermind behind all of it. We got a lot to discuss on the show today. My Golden State Warriors, shocker. No Jimmy Butler. I still said they could get a game without Jimmy. They did that in game 3 via a brilliant performance from Steph Curry. Get to that in about a half hour or so. But before that, the Lakers are cooked, ladies and gentlemen. I was dead wrong about this series. Couldn't be more happy to be wrong about the Lakers' chances against the Minnesota Timberwolves as Minnesota goes up 3-1. Get to that in about 15 or so. Terrible news for Damian Lillard, who blew his Achilles in the loss in Game 4 for the Bucks to the Indiana Pacers. What this means for Giannis moving forward, what it means for Dame moving forward. Get to that. A crazy finish between the Clippers and the Nuggets. And at the end of today's show, my reaction to the draft, not really for all 32 teams, because that would take 3 hours. But to me, 3 winners, 3 losers for this draft. Again, it's hard to tell because these guys haven't played a snap yet, but based on team need, based on value, all of it. 3 winners, 3 losers for the NFL draft in 2025. That coming up at the end of today's show. But first, so I talked about Shedeur Sanders' fall out of the first round on Friday. I thought it was confusing. I didn't agree with it. I certainly was confused by Jackson Dart going ahead of Shedeur Sanders in round 1, but you could at least make the case, okay, Jackson Dart's erratic. Jackson Dart is up and down. Jackson Dart didn't play that well against good competition in a pro-style offense in the SEC, but there's upside there. There's arm talent. Brian Dable got Daniel Jones to the playoffs and got him a $40 million a year contract. Okay, I disagree with it, but I do understand the Giants' line of thinking on it. Disagree, understand the line of thinking. So, as I mentioned just at the top of the show, Friday night, watching draft coverage, watching NBA playoffs, decided, it's Friday night. Let's go see Revenge of the Sith re-release. I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, and it was amazing. It's great watching the movie on the big screen, different experience. And I fully expect, the movie ends at like midnight. I fully expect when I come out to look at my phone and see Shedeur Sanders taken by the Raiders, maybe by my Pittsburgh Steelers, who knows, by the Browns, which is where he ended up going the next day. And I check my phone. Shedeur Sanders still hasn't been drafted yet. And then I look down and I see, wait a second. Wait a second. Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Shogue, Jalen Milroe over this kid. So let's go over the list, and then we get to the Shedeur aspect of it, where we talk about Dion and his influence and how Shedeur didn't necessarily do himself any favors in the process. On a pure talent, from a pure talent perspective, Cam Ward is the best quarterback in this draft. Said that coming in, he was the absolute rightful number 1 overall pick to the Tennessee Titans. Jackson Dart, you see the talent. I had him as the 3rd best QB on my board, slightly ahead of Jalen Milroe, just because Milroe's upside is there, but he is a project. Get to him later. But then you have Tyler Shogue going ahead in the second round, going to the New Orleans Saints. That's a head scratcher. Tyler Shogue is a 7-year college starter with 3 season-ending injuries. So it took him an eternity to develop. He was a good player at Louisville, nothing special, and he has an injury history. Okay, then we get to Dylan Gabriel, a multi-time transfer who was fine at Oregon. Hey, listen, he's got the FBS record for touchdown passes. Kudos to him, but is not a special prospect by any stretch of the imagination. Did you see him in that game against Ohio State when he had not comparable talent, but close enough in what was the number 1 team in America, Oregon, and he looks completely overwhelmed by that Ohio State front all day long at the Rose Bowl? Okay, he goes ahead of Shedeur Sanders. And then the most head-scratching of all, Jalen Milroe, quarterback from Alabama. Listen, I obviously, as a Tennessee fan, SEC guy, I watched Jalen Milroe a lot last year, watched him play in person at Neyland Stadium a year ago. His arm strength is insane. He is one of the fastest quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life coming out of a draft process. He's, in that regard, awesome. Arm strength, wow. Footwork's atrocious. Accuracy, hit or miss. Seeing the field well, not good. And keep in mind, it's not like he was playing behind or playing in front for scrubs for coaches. Nick Saban, Kalen DeBoer, pretty good at what they do. And it's not like he wasn't surrounded with excellent receivers at Bama like Ryan Williams, who's going to be a first-round pick in a couple of years from now. And so you see these guys go ahead of Shedeur. So from a talent perspective, none of those three are more talented than Shedeur. They're just not. So then we go to the other stuff. Then we go to what has been described as a brash nature by Shedeur. What reports has classified as the fact that he was, kind of tanking interviews to a certain degree. Like Brian Dable was named in one report that Shedeur Sanders didn't come in prepared. All of this. Okay, understood. And again, that's the part where Shedeur hurts himself. That's the part where Deion, who a couple months ago was saying, hey, we will dictate where Shedeur Sanders goes. I don't have a problem with Deion doing that. I don't, because Archie Manning did that with his son, and who knows, maybe the Mannings will orchestrate that next year with Arch. Who knows? And I don't have an issue with that. John Elway's dad did that. But again, Elway is one of the 3 or 4 most talented quarterbacks in the history of the game. Eli is not, but Eli was the first overall pick in that 2004 draft, in what was a great quarterback draft with Rivers and Big Ben. They had the leverage to do that. Deion did not. And so that hurt Shedeur. My question is this. What is it that these GMs see? And maybe it's as simple as this quarterback draft is, at least relative to what we think next year's is going to be, is kind of weak. Cam Ward would have been maybe the 4th best quarterback off the board last year. And in this draft, he's the first overall pick. Like, it's all about, the 2022 draft was historically bad. Brock Purdy, Mr. Relevant, ended up being the best QB in this draft. And whatever your opinions on Brock Purdy are, he's good. But I don't think we see a scenario where Brock Purdy being the best QB in a draft makes it a good draft, if that makes sense. Kenny Pickett was the first off the board for my Steelers. Yikes, he's on his 3rd team in 4 or 5 years. And so that was the reality of this draft. My question is this. The character stuff, okay, does it compare to that of a Baker Mayfield, who had an arrest on his resume, who was, I think, as cocky, if not more so, than Shedeur Sanders? You say, yeah, but he won a Heisman Trophy. Okay. With Oklahoma talent and Lincoln Riley, and in the Big 12, which we all know, notorious for just straight up ignoring the defensive side of the ball. Now that, listen, Baker's gone on to be a really good starter in the NFL, and kudos to what he's done in Tampa. But that was a reality of his game. Baker also was an immobile guy. Shedeur doesn't move that well in terms of scrambling ability. Baker and Shedeur, deadly accurate. Baker and Shedeur, not good arm strength. But Shedeur Sanders, in many ways, I talked about this on Friday's show, has lived the NFL life. Big spotlight, has to be accurate, precise, dealing with the bad O-line, dealing with the spotlight, all of it. Like, that's the NFL life. And he inherited a program which was 1-11, losing by an average of 29 points per game in 2022. 2023, they won 4 games, which is nothing to go crazy about, but it's quadrupled their win total, which shows you how bad Colorado was. And the last year, they won 9 games. So he was doing something right. Last year, 39 touchdowns. You're doing something right. Completing 74% of his throws. Something. Unless the scheme at Colorado or the talent at Colorado, obviously after Travis Hunter, of course, Heisman Trophy winner. After that was better than any of us, including draft prospects, anticipated. Shedeur had a lot to do with that. And so I have a hard time seeing a scenario. And by the way, Cleveland now. The heck's Cleveland doing? Listen, I'm going to, at the end of my show, go over winners and losers of the draft. Cleveland doesn't go to winner or loser. They go into my, category. Can we see their quarterback room? What even is this? Deshaun Watson, we know his off-field history, and in the worst contract in sports. Joe Flacco, God bless him, Super Bowl MVP, but he's getting up there in age. Kenny Pickett, who's on his 3rd team in 4 years. Dylan Gabriel, okay, and now Shedeur Sanders. I thought the Giants drafting quarterback with Jameis and Russell was interesting. This is just a clobbered up mess. It's the Browns, of course, and that's the part for Shedeur that I absolutely hate, is that there was a scenario on the board where this could actually work in Shedeur's favor, because people say, well, he's losing a lot of money. Folks, NIL, and he's Deion Sanders' kid. He's not struggling financially. He's fine. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about him going to a situation in Cleveland that next to the New York Jets, folks, Browns fans at tailgates, we've seen the pictures, we've seen the memes, literally have jerseys with all the nameplates of their quarterbacks. Aside from the Jets, no franchise does quarterback worse than the Cleveland Browns. And that's where he just ended up with, in a room that they already drafted quarterback this year. And they signed Joe Flacco, and they traded for Kenny Pickett, and they decided to, or they're still keeping Deshaun Watson on that god-awful deal. That's what Shedeur Sanders is inheriting. I've said this, and I used Sam Darnold last year as the prime example, because Sam Darnold is more talented than Shedeur Sanders coming out of USC, is that where you land matters so much in the NFL unless you're like a Peyton Manning prospect, unless you're a guy where it's like he could land literally anywhere and he will work. Like those are once every 15, 20-year type guys. John Elway, Peyton, like we just don't see it. Even Tom Brady, the GOAT, right? He needed that developing, and then he eventually became the GOAT, and then he became the biggest head of a dynasty snake ever, but that Belichick defense obviously helped him. Okay, Patrick Mahomes, going to Andy Reid certainly didn't hurt matters, right? Inheriting Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce didn't hurt Mahomes. Now he's gone on to obviously develop into far and away the best QB in the game, but he needed that structure early on in his career. And this is what Shedeur inherits. Now, I doubt he starts, certainly to start the season. I'm not so sure he starts at all next year. I'm sure if the Browns are 3-9 going into December, there'll be some calls from the fans. Hey, start Shedeur. Maybe Stefanski will try and do something to keep his job. I don't know. But this whole scenario, listen, Shedeur and Deion's hands are not completely clean in all of this. They brought some of this upon themselves. Simultaneously, though, were those questions enough? I mean, again, here's another guy, Johnny Manziel. Now, I know, listen, I was talking to a good friend of mine over this weekend. He said, well, listen, maybe teams have kind of learned their lesson from the Johnny Manziel thing. Got it. But this is a guy who had, go back to his numbers his last year at A&M and Shedeur's numbers his last year at Colorado. Almost identical, like touchdowns, completion percent, all of it. Johnny Manziel had multiple arrests. We weren't sure if he was committed to football, and we knew he had an alcohol problem. Shedeur Sanders, none of those. And yet he falls to 5th round in a weak quarterback draft where I think he was clearly the second best guy. So, listen, I thought it was a travesty. I thought the fact that this all culminated in he gets drafted by the Cleveland Browns was almost like not tragic, but the unfortunate ending to all of this. And people say, well, he's got to go prove it now. Okay, but who has in that city? Listen, if he gets drafted by Vegas, it's like, well, I mean, Derek Carr was fine there. Geno Smith's a good starter. They've got pieces. I think the Raiders, you'll see later, had a pretty good draft. They've already got Brock Bowers. Pete Carroll's the coach. At that point, yeah, there is no excuses for Shedeur. Against Cleveland. Went to the AFC North against those defenses. Like, it's a disaster. And so, listen, Shedeur, Deion brought some of it on themselves. They did. At the same time, I just have a hard time believing that him being brash is why he fell to the 5th round, despite on almost everybody's board being the number 2 quarterback. I mean, Kuiper and again, Joel Klatt, God bless. I love Joel Klatt as a college football analyst immensely. Colorado guy, he had Shedeur as his number 1 guy. But like Mel Kiper, had Shedeur above Cam Ward. Didn't agree with that, but he's clearly the 2. Man, it falls to the 5th round. A lot of this, to me, stems from a little bit of insecurity from NFL GMs, execs, and owners. You can surmise as to why that is. But this was a travesty. It really, really was. Never in my wildest dreams when I was talking Friday on the show did I think that him falling to round 5 would even be within the realm of possibility. And yet, it was. And he ended up on one of the worst foreign franchises in American team sports. So this is bad. This is really bad for Shedeur Sanders. I mean, listen, if he ended up in Pittsburgh with my Steelers, obviously I would have been excited. And we did draft Will Howard. Good kid, national champion last year, was great in the playoff. I get it. But I watched him at Kansas State and Ohio State. He's fine. You know, he's got a decent touch on his deep ball, but it's easy to have touch on deep ball when you're throwing to Emeka Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith and those guys. Like, it's a little bit easier when you're throwing to some of the best wide receivers in America. So... But if Shedeur went to Pittsburgh, my question at that point is, okay, can the Steelers develop a quarterback? Because the talent's there, but can they develop a quarterback? Cleveland can do neither. They don't have the talent, and they can't develop quarterbacks. So that's where we're at in the Shedeur Sanders front, and he got a pretty rough deal out of this, no doubt about it. Again, he's not innocent in all this, but he was not the 5th best quarterback in this draft. Or, my apologies, 6th best quarterback in this draft. That's absurd. Like, that's ridiculous. Transitioning out of the Lakers to the NBA playoffs, we'll get back to the draft at the end of the show, winners, losers. Transitioning to the Lakers, who are dead. Their season is over. They're done. DOA, forget about them. Sweep them away. They're done. Irrelevant. No more. Bye. So they lose 116-113 to the Timberwolves in game 4 to go down 3-1. And listen, I was dead wrong. I picked Lakers in 5. I did say, though, it would be Timberwolves, Mavericks like last year when the T-Wolves lost in 5 games to the Mavs, but 4 of those 5 could have went either way. That's how I feel about this series, or felt about this series coming in. And Minnesota has, from game 1 on, and I chalked game 1 up to, well, LeBron feel-out game. No, Minnesota's just the more physical team. Minnesota is the more defensive-minded team. They have the more experienced coach. And, I mean, let's keep it a buck. They've got the best player in the series. I thought it would be Luka, and then LeBron and Ant is kind of cancel each other out. It's been Anthony Edwards, and it hasn't been particularly close. Can we show Ant's numbers in this series? He's averaged, basically, call that 30 points per game, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, and then 45% for the field, 43 from 3. And obviously, Ant-Man led the NBA in three-pointers made this season, even over the great Steph Curry. And so Minnesota's up 3-1. Listen, I think the Lakers will win game 5, get it to game 6. Minnesota will close them out there. Folks, even if it gets to a game 7, the Lakers will be so darn worn down. And we saw Minnesota last year. After going up 2-0 in Denver, lose the next 3 games, then blow the doors off the Nuggets in game 6, and come back from 20 down in game 7. So if you think if they lose the next 2, oh, man, Minnesota shook. Now, Anthony Edwards ain't scared of nobody. And that's why he's such a great player. But even sticking on Anthony Edwards, what a resume this guy is putting together in the postseason. I mean, when you look at it, a year ago, knocks out Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, by the way, in what's the most recent playoff series we've seen KD and Book. Round 2, defending champions, down 3-2, comes back on the Denver Nuggets and the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic. And then this year, he's a win away from knocking out Luka and LeBron. Like, this guy is, he's young. I mean, and Edwards is, understand he was a 2020 draft pick. What is he, 23 years of age. Like, this kid is, the fact that he's this young and doing this is terrifying for the rest of the league. And it's the kind of thing that makes you ask the question, man, Luka's in the conversation, Wemby's in the conversation about, okay, once LeBron and Steph are done, who's the new face of the league? When you're stacking up a playoff resume like this early in your career, I still don't think the Timberwolves are a championship level team, but if they add a couple of pieces, dare I say, and I've been suggesting this for about a year, maybe they'll go get Kevin Durant, who's going to get traded this offseason. Now KD's your number 2. Now we start to have those conversations. Man, Minnesota could actually go on a really deep run, and they were a conference finals team last year. And so, like, this kid is, I know he doesn't like the face of the league thing, and I actually understood the reasons he said, because he's seen what LeBron's had to deal with, where it's like every little move is not only scrutinized, but compared to MJ and Edwards in terms of his game as compared to MJ, which he hates. And so, but what you're seeing from this kid is incredible. And Minnesota, safe. It just sounds like the dumbest statement ever, because it's obvious. Has a very bright future, and Edwards is that dude. Now to the Lakers side of it. So I thought this was a championship contender the second they traded for Luka Doncic. I thought that they would give up a lot in the defensive end. More on that in a second. But I thought their offense would be insane with LeBron for the first time in his basketball life as the number 2 option. And in fairness, Luka had a solid game 1, really good game 2, wasn't good in game 3, but again, we're not trying to make excuses, but he was sick as a dog. I think they said he had the stomach flu in game 3. I've had the stomach flu. I cannot imagine playing an NBA playoff basketball game with. Let's put it that way. And then game 4 yesterday afternoon, Luka gives you 38 points. Now, problem is 2 assists. So the Timberwolves did what I thought, because I thought the Lakers were going to win this series. I thought they would face my Warriors in round 2. What my belief was what the Warriors should do with the Los Angeles Lakers and Luka Doncic, and that's play him one-on-one. He gets what he gets. He scores what he scores. He gives you 30+, but I'm not going to have him kicking out to shooters like Finney Smith, Austin Reeves, among others, Gabe Vincent, to be able to beat you from the corner, right? For Luka to be a distributor and a passer. It's kind of been the game plan to try and stop Joker. Now Joker's a better player and a bigger mismatch nightmare, but that's the game plan for great offensive players who can score and pass the ball. That's what Minnesota's doing. And the Lakers have gotten absolutely torched in this series from Ant Edwards. We're not surprised. We just showed you his numbers. He's a great player. He's probably a top 5 player in the world right now. But the rest of the guys, I mean, Jaden McDaniels has been incredible. I mean, Jaden McDaniels yesterday gives you only 16 points, but 16-11, gets space with a game-winning and one on the foul by Austin Reeves. Like, he's been great on both ends of the floor in the series. Julius Randle. Listen, part of my skepticism of Minnesota is I said Julius Randle's next great playoff moment will be his first. He's always been a liability. In the postseason, Julius Randle gives you 25 and is shot well from 3 because the Lakers don't have size. And the Mark Williams trade, you go back to that, how that fell through. But as big of a fan as I've been of this guy, and I still think he's done a phenomenal job this year, JJ Redick's got to wear a lot of this. Look, I get it. You don't trust some of your reserve guys. Listen, I don't trust Jackson Hayes either. Okay, he's a decent lob threat, and that's all he gives. He's not a good NBA player. He's not. But you've got guys off the bench who can give you something. Again, you look down the roster, if we could pull up the box score. Again, Vanderbilt is not a good offensive player. He could get you a stop or two. Gabe Vincent, I get he hasn't shot the ball well, but he's a shooter. He's someone that the Minnesota Timberwolves have to worry about. You're telling me JJ Redick did something that no coach has ever done in NBA playoff history, and that is play all 5 of his best players, not starters because Jackson Hayes started, but all 5 of his best players in the second half. And can we show you the minute total for these guys? It's insane. Do we have the graphic here? I think we do. Yeah, here it is. LeBron James, Luka Doncic play 46 minutes apiece. Rui gives you 41, as does Dorian Finney-Smith. Austin Reeves plays 35 minutes. Redick, the heck you doing, man? I get it. You're pushing your chips in the middle table. This is a must-win game. You got to tie this series up. Steal back home court. I get that. But, bruh, like you've got to put yourself in a position where you have gas in Game 5. Now, Game 5's on Wednesday. So that's kind of one of the few silver linings for the Lakers as well. We get 2 days off, but LeBron James at 40 years old, he's great. He's in year 22. We get it. And I've talked extensively about LeBron. Y'all know how I feel about him in the GOAT discussion. The man should not be playing 46 minutes. Okay. Because he clearly can. We saw it. He wore down in the fourth quarter, but he still had 2 outstanding defensive plays down the stretch to what I thought was going to steal the game from Minnesota and save the Lakers season. If this is a Game 6 Western Conference Finals down 3-2, I get it. Your season you've gotten this far. Your season's literally over if you don't win this game. But first round, even if the Lakers do what I think is, given what their energy level has to be at this point, and the fact that starting in Game 5, the remaining games of the series, however many there will be every other day. I think even if the Lakers somehow come back from 3-1 in this, they are cooked. They have a 0% chance against the Golden State Warriors in the second round, and I did not feel that way. Even as a Warriors fan, even though I picked the Warriors coming to the playoffs because I thought that's the matchup we get, I was thinking this is going to be a 6, maybe 7-game dogfight. No chance. A, because they'd be worn down from the Timberwolves series. B, and this is a big reason I picked the Warriors, is Luka Doncic is the worst on-ball defender in basketball, and you saw that throughout the course of this game. Now, again, some of this is Redick playing the guy 46 minutes, which is nutso. But I remember there was a stat last year when the Mavs were in the finals. Luka led them to the finals against the Boston Celtics. When Luka was giving up as the primary on-ball defender, like 67% blow-bys, like 67% of the time, the guy who was guarding blew right by Luka. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, whoever it was. And that's, what is, I think, driven Mavs fans crazy. I think what's driving Lakers fans crazy. And I love Luka. He's great, but drives me crazy watching the game. The complaining to refs, but it's not that he's not a great defender. As a basketball consumer, I don't want him to be a great defender because I think that's going to take away from his offensive game, which is more important. You got to at least, so much of defense is effort. You got to try on the defensive end. You got to give him something. And he's not. Now, some of it yesterday was he literally just ran out of gas, although you could say while LeBron scored 0 in the fourth quarter, he did make the two gigantic. He made the first block. I forget who it was he blocked. Was it McDaniels? I forget. Blocked the shot. Lakers go down, and Finney Smith hits the three to put them up 2, and then LeBron gets another block, and it's like, oh my gosh, the Lakers are going to steal this thing. And so it's a devastating loss for the Lakers. Their season is over. As a Warriors fan, the only downside for me is I wish we'd have been the team that knocked him out, because that'd have been even sweeter. But man, those Laker fans that were talking smack about, oh man, you wait till Luka and LeBron get a hold of the Warriors. Well, they're not even going to get a chance to get a hold of the Warriors. And even if they did, if they somehow survive the series, DOA, no chance, 0. We're talking gentleman sweep, baby. We're talking Jackson Hayes, Walker Hayes, Rutherford B. Hayes, Warriors in 5. That's what we'd be talking about. So instead, though, LeBron tried, Lucas fried, Shannon lied. T-Wolves in 5. That's what we got. So Lakers are dead. And listen, it's kind of sort of the last thing I'll say. We hear conversations about this more so in the NFL than the NBA about, oh my God, it's rigged. It was rigged for the Chiefs, right? Until the Eagles trounced them in the Super Bowl. Then I guess it wasn't. I guess the NFL forgot how to rig. But when people are like, oh, it's rigged, I've always said in the NFL, then why have the Cowboys not made a Super Bowl in 30 years? If the NBA is rigged, why would the NBA not intervene to make sure that we get LeBron versus Steph in a second round series, knowing the ratings draw that would be? So there you go. But listen, I am happily wrong about the series. It's only a matter of time, whether it's Wednesday in Game 5. I guess it's Game 6 Friday, I guess, I assume. I'm pretty sure it's every other day after Game 5 in this series. But yeah, I think Game 6 will be on Friday. Whether it's Wednesday or Friday, Lakers are done. Adios. Goodbye. And again, only downside is the Warriors couldn't be the team to knock them out. But T-Wolves will be a heck of a challenge for my Golden State Warriors, who I'll get to after the break. How about Chef Curry? Get to him and the Golden State Warriors winning without Jimmy Butler in Game 3 over Houston. Game 4 tonight on Carving Up Live in just a minute. Stay tuned. To Carving Up Live. So I see, I always forget to do this at the top of the show and say that today's show is not live. I'm recording this right now. It's 12:51 Eastern Standard Time. So at this point in the show, it's like almost 6:30 Eastern. So if there's anything in the world of sports that has happened in between the time that I'm recording and the time the show's airing, anything like major, I'm aware of it, just not the time you're watching me. Shifting now to the Golden State Warriors, and man, oh man, Houston's really cooked, guys. I hate to say it, not really. The Golden State Warriors won 104-93 over Houston. My Warriors did. And Steph Curry was incredible. Shocker. No Jimmy Butler, no problem. We can go and pull up Steph's numbers. How's 36, 9, and 7 for you on 12 of 23 from the field, 5 for 13 from 3, and he knocked down 7 of his 8 shots from the charity stripe. So this series has been so interesting to me. So Jimmy missed Game 3. I was kind of 50-50 on whether he played. I thought he maybe try and give it a go, but Steve Kerr, the Warriors, Shams Charania literally reported before the game, kind of concerned me a little bit. He said that Jimmy Butler literally cannot move well enough to play. So we'll see if he goes tonight. Anthony Slater of The Athletic seems to be implying that Jimmy will play tonight. So let's go. Thank goodness. Hopefully Jimmy is – the risk of re-injury is not there, or at least is not at a high percentage for Jimmy to play tonight. So we'll see. And I think the Warriors will take game 4. But for game 3, this was, early on in this game, I'm like, man, this is, no Jimmy, this is starting to look kind of rough. Steph starts 1 of 5. He's got 2 points. We can't buy a shot. Kuminga is just, the second Jimmy Butler comes back, Kuminga is back getting DMP coach's decision on his box score. He's such an athletic freak. He's incredible. But gosh, I swear, it's sometimes I'm like, does this kid know how to play? Does this kid know how to play basketball? And listen, your IQ's got to be off the charts playing that Steve Kerr system. It just does. That's why veterans, by and large, work really well. And why, listen, young guys like Pajemski have worked, but, like Moses Moody as well, high IQ guys. But it's mostly kind of a veteran-style offense for the Stephs and the Draymonds and the Jimmys of the world. But early on this game, I'm thinking, man, this isn't looking so good. We've only got 18 at the first quarter, and now Houston's up 13 mid-second. I'm like, oh boy, this might be kind of a do or die game 4. We need Jimmy to come back by then. And then, old Chef, he gets it going. It doesn't matter if he's double teamed. Doesn't matter what kind of defense he's faced. Doesn't matter if Dylan Brooks is almost knocking him out on 3-point shots. I swear, if Steph got Embiid's whistle, the guy would average 40 a game. It's unbelievable. But floaters, finishing packages, the crossover threes, like all of it from mid-second quarter on, this guy put on a show. And by the way, it isn't like Steph didn't get help, because I said role players going to have to step up. And the 2 rules we know about the playoffs we've seen in this series. Number 1, they let you play physical, more physical, certainly than the regular season. And number 2, role players are always better at home than on the road. Houston's role players, what did you get from Tari Eason? 3 of 9. Steven Adams, 6 rebounds. Okay, fine, but nothing special. And then you look at the Warriors role players. Buddy Hield was excellent. And listen, Buddy's got a very mixed reputation within Warriors, within Dub Nation fan circles. Because he is a streaky shooter, and when he starts shooting and keeps missing, he doesn't stop shooting, and Steve Kerr's take him off the floor. He's not that good a defender, and I might be a better ball handler than Buddy Hield, and I can't handle the ball for you know what. So like that's you kind of just get a lot from Buddy, but when he's got it going from 3 like he did in this game, he shot 5 for 11. Huge. He hit some big shots second half. Okay. Quentin Post gave you 11 boards in the starting lineup. Wasn't the stretch 5 threat that you needed him to be. I could see him stepping up in game 4, but rebounded the basketball against Alperen Sengun. He was great. Also, you got to give mad love. Gary Payton in the fourth quarter. I think he had like 14 points or something. 14 points. Finishing in the paint, pick and rolls, off the doubles on Steph, taking advantage, being aggressive in those spots. And Draymond Green. What can you say about the guy? Listen, you look at his numbers in this game, they're not anything to go crazy about. They never are. 7 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Triple singles, Charles Barkley would like to say. But the guy is a defensive specimen when it comes to guarding 1 through 5, and he has not shut down Sengun, but he has made Sengun 70% of the player that he normally is. He feels like every time that Sengun takes those one-handed, like kind of floater shots, mid-post, nothing. Draymond's got a hand in his face. Draymond is bringing it from a physicality standpoint. And this is what I said about this series coming in. And listen, I think the Warriors can probably win if Jimmy doesn't play another game. If Jimmy comes back, the series is a wrap. But the thing I said about this series after game 1 is that if this is a spot where both Golden State and Houston are great offensive teams, if they cancel each other out on the defensive end, the Golden State Warriors are going to win this series comfortably because from an offense perspective, Steph's going to be Steph. And by the way, speaking of that, do you remember after that game, I think it was, what was it, April 6th? That was 3 weeks ago. Feels like an eternity ago because the playoffs feels like a different sport almost. Remember that game, April 6th? Steph Curry scores 3 points against the Rockets, 1 of 10 from the field. And the narrative coming into the series is, oh man. And Ime Udoka even referenced it. He said, listen, when you get guys frustrating, you got them. Okay. So I mentioned, I talked about last Monday about the Curry stopper narrative is like the tabloid magazine of the NBA. I think Ime Udoka being a great defensive coach particularly against Steph Curry, is the biggest tabloid magazine in the National Basketball Association. Let's look at Steph Curry's postseason numbers. So again, Ime Udoka, great defensive coach, man. He's got the answers to stop Steph. Can we show Steph Curry's numbers in the postseason, in the 22 finals, and then now when Ime Udoka was the coach of the Celtics and now the Rockets? What Steph Curry does? He's basically unstoppable. 30 points on, by the way, almost 50% shooting by a 6'3" guard, 44% from three, which is amazing even for Steph, 88 from the line, which is actually down for Steph, but it gives you 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and the Golden State Warriors are 6-3 in those games. So listen, I'm sure Ime will certainly have the answers tonight. He's literally never had the answers to stop Steph. I think Steph has had, in the 9 games he's played an Ime Udoka coach team in the playoffs, I'm doing this off the top of my head now, only 3 of those games has Steph not scored 30 points, and in one of those he scored 29. So let's bump up a point and say 7 of those 9 Steph has scored 30. So it's just the narrative coming out, oh, Ime's going to rough Steph up. Yeah, it's real. I can tell. Yeah, he gives you 31 and hits some circus shots in game 1, has a tough game 2, well, not really a tough game 2. He had 20. And then in game 3, he goes berserk, gives you 36, 9, and 7 without Jimmy Butler, without a guy, because that's what Jimmy is so dangerous, is when you double Steph, oh, now Jimmy's going to kill you in the playoffs. Didn't even have, and still torched you for 2.5 quarters. So Ime Udoka, hold this. And by the way, Jalen Green, hold this. So first of all, can we talk about this? Because I feel like it's not getting enough play right now. Jalen Green is kind of I think the future in terms of being the best player in the Rockets in 2-3 years. That's no disrespect to Şengün, but I think Green has more upside to be that best player on a good playoff team, more so than Şengün. Can we show what Jalen Green has been for the last, basically 2.5 weeks? We can show you his numbers. He's been, by and large, bad. That's his roller coaster, his Jalen Green's roller coaster offense. That's kind of inaccurate. He's been bad except for one game. So this is Jalen Green's last 6 games for the podcast audience. 5.7 points, 2 points on 0 of 7 night, 7 points. He had 38 in game 2. Kudos. And then the other night, he scores 9 points. And can we hear, because Jalen Green and Draymond Green got into a little bit of a, not a scuffle, but had a war of words, let's say, after the buzzer sounded. And hear what Jalen Green said about Draymond Green.
Yeah, it was just talking. He can't really do much of anything else, so talking his only way.
And he's in his head. Like clockwork. Like, it's Draymond against these young teams. This is part of the value he plays for the Warriors, is he's going to try. Do you remember, again, ironically, against an Ime Udoka coach team? Maybe he needs to have his guys more dialed in. But Jaylen Brown, remember that game? Jaylen Brown's a great player who's matured. Not that he was immature, but as matured as a player, as a leader, all of it in the last few years since that 22 finals. But do you remember that game 2 of that series when Draymond Green was like, he was on the ground, was kind of like yanking at Jaylen Brown's jersey and just being an absolute pest. And the Celtics get mad. And Jaylen Brown had a comment like, basically, nobody scares me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, yep, Draymond's in his head. Because if Draymond's on your head, you're like, okay, it's physical basketball. It is what it is. We move on. No, that's not. And Jaylen Brown, I think in 2025 probably wouldn't give you that answer, because he's a more seasoned player. He's a champion, Finals MVP, all of it. Jalen Green's not there yet, and so if Jalen Green could give you 30 tonight, or he could give you 7, like, he's just all over the place as a player. And this is why I thought Houston winning the series, there was little chance of it happening. The experience in Golden State, the defense, both defenses being great, cancel each other out. Warriors win easily when it comes to the offensive battle. And when it comes to coaching matchup, it's not remote. It's not even close. Kerr versus Udoka. It's the Grand Canyon. And so, Kerr, by the way, Kerr's been great with his rotations of the series without Jimmy Butler and with a sick Pajimski. So Kerr's been great. By the way, I think he's now I think he passed somebody the other night in terms of career playoff wins. I forget who it was. I think it was it Larry Brown? I think it might have been Larry Brown. But listen, this was a great win for the Warriors. Take game 3. I think Jimmy's going to play tonight. I think the Warriors, I think it's going to be a close game. Houston's going to be desperate. But if I had to guess, I'd say 106 to 101 106 to 100 Golden State here in Game 4 tonight in the Bay Area. I'm going to try to upload this video ahead of time so that there's the Game 3 reaction, so it has time to breathe before Game 4 tonight. But Golden State wins tonight, goes up 3-1. And listen, I before the series, I said Warriors take Game 1, Rockets 2, Warriors hold serve at home, Rockets win in Game 5 at home, Dubs close them out in 6. That's kind of how I still feel this series will go. I think Houston will be really desperate in Game 5 should they lose tonight, and then the Warriors will do what they do, and that's close them out in 6 games. So that's what I got. Reaction to the Warriors. I mean, I told you, no Jimmy, no problem. For one game, no Jimmy, no problem, because we got the baddest man in the history of the game of basketball, Mr. Chef Curry. Unfortunate news. Rough transition. But last night, the last Game 4 that was played, Indiana Pacers, Milwaukee Bucks. I'm kicking myself for picking Milwaukee in this series. I'm like, Giannis hasn't been in the playoffs. I'm like, I think he's going to be hungry. And the way Giannis has been playing, the Bucks won 8 straight games, closed the regular season. I'm like, hey, I think Indiana is clearly the better team, but Giannis can be Superman. And Giannis actually has been awesome lately. And it just doesn't matter because Indiana's deeper. Indiana's better coached. Indiana's a far better offensive team. And looks like they're going to probably close them out in Indianapolis. When's Game 5 on Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday night at 6 Eastern. That's tomorrow night, basically. That's Indiana's going to close them out. The story from this game, those Damian Lillard, who went down first half with what Chris Haynes was the first one to report is probably an Achilles injury. And at the time the show is airing, it might have already been announced by that Damian Lillard is out, obviously, for the rest of the playoffs and almost certainly all of next year. So for Dame, who I always liked Dame, and then when he hit that gangster shot against Oklahoma City, waved him goodbye. I'm like, I like this dude. I'm a Dame guy. Love Damian Lillard, cool dude, best rapper in the NBA by far, top 75 all time. I was one of the few that thought he was deserving of that. One of the greatest shooters ever. This is devastating. And Dame's injury history has piled up as of late. I mean, we remember the blood clots this year. He was beat up in the playoffs a year ago. He had a couple seasons in Portland where they shut him down due to some injuries. And so, I mean, Damian Lillard at this stage of his career, I mean, he was drafted in he was in the same draft as Draymond Green. Like, he's been in the league for years. He's 34. Let's see, his birthday is July 15th. So his next game will be when he's probably October of 2026. Like, I mean, it's going to be a while before we see Damian Lillard back on the court. So for him, it just sucks, and I hate it for him. And prayers for him and his family. The second story because this obviously Bucks have a 0% chance to come back from down 3-1 on Indiana. The story's now Giannis, who is, in my opinion, the second best player in basketball to Nikola Jokic by a pretty wide margin, because Jokic is, I think, just head and shoulders above the rest of the world right now. And we've seen that throughout the course of these playoffs once again. But I think Giannis is the number 2 right now. What he gives you on both ends of the floor, his efficiency, shoots like 63% from the field. It's absurd. At this point, the Bucks are probably going to fire Doc Rivers. They should have never brought him in to begin with. They've got old players. Brooke Lopez is getting up there in age. Bobby Portis. Kyle Kuzma's not old, but he is ineffective come playoff time. They don't have any depth. They tried a bunch of trades. None of them have worked. They have no draft capital. Now Dame's hurt. The only way, and I won't begrudge him for this. The only way Giannis stays in Milwaukee is if he just loves Milwaukee and is just loyal to the city. Because this point, there's nothing he has to prove as a Milwaukee Buck. He's led a team to a championship. He's got a DPOY in his resume. He's got 2 MVPs. He's a minimum top 3 player. I've got him at number 2. Giannis has nothing to prove as a Milwaukee Buck. If he just loves the city, is comfortable there with his family, is that's just who he is. He's Milwaukee. Got no problem with that. If Giannis was not a champion, I would maybe have a different opinion on that. If that is not the case, Giannis is playing his final game as a Buck tomorrow night against the Pacers. I mean, maybe he just goes like Game 6, 2021 Finals nuclear. He gives like 50 and they extend the series, but they're not beating Indiana. So then you bring up a number of teams. The New York Knicks, I think, are going to come to a lot of people's lists. I think Lord Thibodeau just won't use it. I've never seen him like, he just won't use his bench. He's against it, I guess, in the playoffs. Tibbs is probably going to be gone next year with the Knicks, which I think would make it more attractive for Giannis. Obviously, the Knicks are not moving Jalen Brunson, but they've got a number of pieces to work with. Would they move Cat, who's been really good for them in the playoffs? Would they move Mikal Bridges, who's been an impactful player on both ends, the Iron Man of the NBA? Would they move a number of these pieces for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Would they have to get another team involved? Would they have to give up draft capital, which I think they would? The problem is, here's the problem. They gave up 4 first-round picks to get Mikal Bridges. I think if they had an opportunity to redo that, it's not that they don't bring Mikal Bridges in, but they maybe try and finagle their way to not have to give up 4 first-rounders. And so the question for them is, really the question for all these teams, whether they have the assets. Miami is going to come into the fold. I guess Bam is the centerpiece. And Bam's a great player, but I guess Bam is the centerpiece of that move. I mean, Wiggins, I don't know, like Tyler Hero, they'd probably move here. I don't know, like Miami are kind of grasping at straws. Pat Riley has become a little bit of the Mike Tomlin of the NBA. Like the Heat are never bad and can never get above water when it comes to really having a solid championship roster. I know they made the finals. That was Jimmy's greatness. And so the teams like that, someone said the Lakers. I mean, come on, like, are we just? I know they made the move for Luka. That was a Nico Harrison thing, not a Rob Pelinka thing. Can we, like, every superstar does not always want to come to the Lakers. So there'll be a number of teams in the mix. I listen, if the Warriors somehow landed, I don't think we have any chance to do it, but if the Warriors somehow landed Giannis, then we're just going to win the next 2 championships after this championship, of course. But I don't see a world in which Giannis, maybe he starts the next season as a Buck, but I cannot see a scenario in which 10 months from now, let's call it this, the week of Super Bowl 60, that's San Francisco, right? Super Bowl 60 in San Francisco. There's no way that Giannis Antetokounmpo is a Milwaukee Buck again, unless he just loves Milwaukee. He's tight with the organization. His family loves it there, and that's what he wants to do. In which case, he's got a championship. He's got plenty of accomplishments. Got no issues with that. But this Dame injury kind of felt like we were delaying the inevitable for a while. The Dame injury kind of feels like the nail in the coffin. Now Dame's gone for a year and a half. Doc's going to be fired. Who knows who they're going to bring in to replace him. Brook Lopez is getting older. The Bucks are probably going to move him. They have no depth, no draft capital. Milwaukee needs to, and this is going to suck because it's like, dang it, we had Kareem and he forced our hand. We had Giannis and we couldn't put the team around him after 2021. And now he's going to understandably force our hand. And they're just going to have to rebuild again. And if you're a Bucks fan, you're like, man, we land some of these generational players once every half century. In the case of Kareem, 2019, and then I guess it was 44 years later, they land Giannis in 2013. That's the harsh reality for small market teams in the NBA, is you almost exclusively have to build to the draft or trade for a young, promising player like the way the Thunder did trading for SGA from the Clippers in the Paul George trade. So there you go. So that's what we got right now on Dame. I have to imagine at the time this show's aired that it's become official that it's an Achilles injury, which is just, it's the worst injury a basketball player can suffer. So prayers for Dame and a speedy recovery. Transition now to, and then we'll go to break. This Denver Clippers series has lived up to the billing in a major way. So first 2 games go down to essentially the last shot. I know overtime the Nuggets kind of pulled away in game 1, but that was a last shot type of game. Game 2 comes down to the last shot. That was Kawhi's virtuoso. Game 3, the Clippers absolutely obliterate Denver. I think what they lose by 30 points in game. I didn't catch a ton of it because of the draft, but yeah, they lost by 34 points in game 3. And then game 4 looked like it was going to be Denver on the other side of it, blowing the doors off the Clippers. Jokic goes insane in the third quarter. And by the way, can we show Jokic's numbers? I mean, the guy's just, it's the best. He's the best player in the world. It's not even close. 36, 21, and 8. Like, I mean, the guy's a freak. He's unreal. And we're half the population's not even sure how much he cares about basketball. And so, but they go into the fourth quarter. Denver does up 20. We're like, okay, here we go. Tied series. 2 close games in Denver, 2 blowouts in LA. Bam. Best of 3 now. And then here come the Clippers on a furious rally. They tie the game. And then last possession, Jokic, and again, he's the best player in the world. There's few shots he can't hit. But, and maybe some of this was because the game's tied, you got overtime. But I think Denver was kind of running out of gas. The Clippers, all the momentum. If that thing goes to OT, I think the Clippers win the game. Jokic throws up a prayer misses everything. And here comes almost like Superman, Aaron Gordon out of the air, dunks the ball at the last possible, not tenth of a second, like almost millisecond. There was a shot, and I don't know if the picture was doctored, but I saw a picture on Instagram of Gordon dunking the ball, and someone said it was so close. Part of the backboard, because you see the buzzer on the sides and on the bottom of the backboard. Only the bottom of the backboard was lit up. The sides weren't even lit up yet. He dunked it so quickly, or so much in time, like literally a millisecond later. That shot probably doesn't count, and we go to overtime, and the Clippers probably win and go up 3-1. But this is what I talked about coming into the series, is that I picked the Clippers because I think through more stretches than Denver has shown that they're the better team. Jokic is clearly the best player in the series, but Kawhi is second, and I think it's second, and then there's a distance between he and third. I guess at that point you probably got to go James Harden, I guess. Jamal Murray's kind of had a weird series. Michael Porter Jr. is playing through injury and gave you what he could, but depth, perimeter defense, better coach. Ty Lue Adelman's done a solid job. Kudos to him, and a lot of people believe he has a lot of promise, and I'm sure he does. But Ty Lue is no lower than the second best coach in the NBA in my estimation. I love Ty Lue. But my question coming into these games, it's just unavoidable. And we haven't really seen that moment yet, but trust you me, these game 5s, 6s, and 7s is where you get, there's James Harden in the playoffs again. Here, he's there. There's, 13 points on, 4 of 16 shooting. That's James Harden. Okay. And then also, I do trust Denver more in the close games. And in 3 of the 4 games have been close, Denver's taken 2 of them. And in game two that the Clippers won that was close, a lot of that, to me, felt like, okay, Jokic's turn. Like, Jokic wasn't that good down the stretch. It was kind of a weird game where he was, like, turning the ball over. It was a flop. Like, it was just a weird last stretch for Jokic in that game, too. But game 1, he was brilliant, as was Jamal Murray. And then game 4, again, it was kind of a hang on for dear life as opposed to a rally or a great fourth quarter. But Aaron Gordon, who's a great defender, the Nuggets' best perimeter defender, comes out of the air, saves the day. He's the lob threat from Jokic. And I joked, it's like the Jokic air ball. It's the greatest air ball of all time. I don't know if it went down as an assist, but that's what concerns me. And now Denver's got home court again. And so game 5, when is game 5? That's tomorrow night. Clippers are a road favorite at Denver. That's interesting. Clippers are favored -1.5 at Denver. So listen, Vegas is telling you, I think the eye test has told you, especially since post All-Star break, the Clippers are a better basketball team than Denver. But if these games are tight, as great as Kawhi is in the clutch, I do trust Jokic. And that 2-man game with Jamal Murray and the Denver Nuggets championship experience, which for as good as the Clippers are, they do not have that. So this has been a fun series thus far, and I think it's going to continue to be. So I'm going to stick with Clippers. I had Clippers in 6. It feels more like it's going to end up going to a 7th game, which feels kind of fitting. I think when we saw this matchup, we're like, okay, the worst case, this is a 6-gamer, if not 7. But, man, what a finish in game 4, and this has been a great series. Go to break. Come back to close the show. My 3 winners and 3 losers from the 2025 NFL Draft back after the break on Carving It Up Live. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. So, then appreciate everybody for tuning in as always. So, led the show with Shedeur, did all NBA after that. So, I figured we might as well bookend it, today's show, with discussing the draft. So, obviously, we did our draft show on the Grid Network on Thursday night. It got a ton of activity in the comments, likes. We got some, subscribers out of it. Like everybody was, the audience, you guys were incredible throughout our show. And I also want to give a big shout out to Mike Guido, who for the second night 2 of the draft, EJ, my man, shout out to him. A little under the weather. EJ was fantastic on our night 1 coverage. Tim Barner was great as well. But Mike Guido manning the ship night 2 for rounds 2 and 3 did a great job. So shout out to Mike Guido, my co-host, who's been with me for each and every one of our draft shows on this network, NFL and NBA. We'll be doing our 5th NBA draft show together this June. So very excited about that. And so, yeah, just want to give everybody love at the Grid, I think. And the Cowboys camp and who did their draft, I think it's the draft day extravaganza or something like that. They did a fantastic job of the weekend. So shout out to those guys. I think we as a network, big time performances from you guys. Really shout out to you fellas. So as far as the draft in totality, gave plenty of first round reaction on Friday. The draft is over. I'm not exactly going to break down every single pick, but the overall performance. And I'm just going to focus on 6 teams. The 3 teams that I think won the draft and the 3 teams that I think did not. And again, we'll have to see how these guys perform because there'll be a 5th round pick for some team that's like, oh my gosh, this is a Pro Bowler that came out of nowhere. And so there were some teams I kind of I put Cleveland in the category, like not bad, not good, just confusing. 2 quarterbacks, they were need a running back. They took 2 of them. It was like, okay, like Mason Graham's an excellent day 1 player, but you just passed up the opportunity to draft Travis Hunter, but you got a first-round pick next year out of it from Jacksonville, who's not that good. Very in between in Cleveland. I actually thought Dallas had a pretty good draft. I thought the Tyler Booker pick was solid. I thought getting the pass rush from Boston College was a good move. They need help off the edge. Getting a running back, the blue kid out of Texas, good pick, good value there in the 5th round. Dallas is a good draft. My big beef with the Cowboys is what it's been since 2022, and that's they just seem allergic to getting Dak Prescott perimeter help. Like they just refuse to do it. They'll give him an offensive line. I'll give them credit. You need an O-line to succeed. Dallas' offensive line was bad last year, but would it kill them? CeeDee Lamb's amazing. He is, but would it kill him to give Dak, dare I say, a legit number 2 receiver? I promise it will. It would actually kind of help Dak a lot, but I've been complaining about since 2022, and they've yet to do it. So the 3 teams I think won the draft. Let's go. Let's alternate. So first winner of the draft, I thought the Chicago Bears, we could put up the graphic, crushed this draft. So Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan, kind of a surprising pick over Tyler Warren because I think Warren is the better prospect. But Colston Loveland is the better receiving tight end in this draft, kind of a Travis Kelce type of model. Luther Burden III. They get another weapon for Caleb Williams. I thought Luther Burden, my last mock draft, I didn't go into Philly. I really like this kid. So now you got a stacked offense. You go with another tackle 2nd round, Ozzie Trapila from Boston College. And then after that, defensive tackle Shamar Turner, Texas A&M. Linebacker Ruben Hippolyte the second from Maryland. Zoff Frazier, the corner from UTSA. Offensive tackle Luke Newman, Michigan State. Running back Kyle Monangai from Rutgers. I thought, but those first 3 picks in particular, the Bears have gone all in on addressing that O-line. And at this point, I mean, I'm as big of a Caleb Williams believer as there is. I think this year he's going to have a breakout year 2. We see that from a lot of the superstar QBs. Mahomes year 2, MVP. Lamar year 2, MVP. I'm not saying Caleb's going to be that in terms of most valuable player. I think he can be. Ben Johnson's calling your plays. You have a massively improved offensive line. Now you have DJ Moore, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet. Shoot, I'm missing somebody. Roman Dunze. Like you've got everything now. The question is, can the Bears defense get stops? The Bears defense really wasn't their problem last year, and they did in the later rounds address that side of the ball. I thought the Bears had a great draft and have set up Caleb Williams beautifully, as every team with a first-round quarterback should do. And so kudos to Chicago Bears. I think they crushed this draft. A loser in this draft. What are you doing, Atlanta? What are you doing? Jalen Walker at 15, I'd love. You need a pass rusher. You've been needing a pass rusher for some time. And so then you get another one, James Pierce. Listen, I'm a Vols fan. Y'all know that, but I am an objective Vols fan. James Pierce is a super athlete. A very average work ethic, and that's being kind. I'm a Vols fan. I'm going to be nice to the guy. Average work ethic, and that's been coming from camps I've heard in Tennessee for some time. Okay, and by the way, in that trade, they gave up a first-round pick next year to the Rams. Now the Falcons don't have a first-round pick in 2026, which really could hurt Penix. And then next 2 picks, they go 2 safeties, Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman. Xavier Watts from Notre Dame, Billy Bowman Jr. from Oklahoma, and then they finished by going offensive tackle Jack Nelson, 7th round from Wisconsin. Why on earth? Okay, so the Falcons have plenty of defensive problems, but 2 pass rushers, the second of which you had to give up a first-round pick to get, and there are character concerns. And then Justin Simmons might be the best safety in football, and you go 2 safeties in your next 2 picks. Like, I don't know what Atlanta's plan is right now. I really don't. Like, I was one of the few people who defended them taking Michael Penix Jr. last year after signing Kirk Cousins to the deal they signed him to, in large part because I love Penix and I believe in Penix. I don't know what the plan is in Atlanta right now. I really, truly don't. I mean, it's like Noah's Ark. They're taking 2 of each, like two pass rushers, 2 safeties. Like, what are we doing? So I thought Atlanta had a terrible draft. I did not think that the Los Angeles Chargers had a terrible draft. They had a million picks. So go through these one by one. Running back Amari Hampton out of North Carolina. I love this kid. I think he fits Jim Harbaugh so well. Jim Harbaugh loves to run the football. There you go. But the Chargers do need help on the outside. So we're going to go get Trey Harris, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Which I think is a really good pick. There were some mock drafts that had him going late first round. That's good value there for the Los Angeles Chargers. Defensive tackle Jamari Caldwell out of Oregon. Edge Kyle Kennard. Big shout out, by the way, Kyle Kennard. My friend and the co-founder of this network, Barry Grant Jr., has gotten to know Kyle Kennard. Back when he was at Georgia Tech, he transferred to South Carolina, and I actually spoke to Kyle Kennard's father over the weekend. Dope family. Congrats to Kyle Kennard. Big shout out to you, young fella. I think we can safely call him a friend of the Grid Network who's going to crush it in the NFL. Anyways, they take him. Good selection by the Chargers. Then they take another receiver, 5th round, but wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith out of Auburn. They do go tight end later than I would have, but the Chargers do need one. In Oronde Gadsden II out of Syracuse, tackle Branson Taylor out of Pittsburgh, safety R.J. Mickens out of Clemson, and safety Triquezie Bridges out of Florida. I think, listen, the Chargers right now, over the last 2 drafts that they've crushed it, Jim Harbaugh is one of my favorite coaches in football in general, college or NFL, and they addressed their need at wide receiver. Listen, they had people like, well, they had Najee Harris. I'm a Steelers fan. And I think Najee Harris will be better in that Chargers offense than the Pittsburgh offense because we don't have an offensive philosophy to speak of. But Najee Harris does have a lot of wear and tear on those tires. And running backs, Tim Barnard of the Boston Sports Summit, my buddy has talked about this. Like, it's just a math problem. Like, running backs age quicker than any position in the NFL. So you got to kind of reload, rehash. And again, Jim Harbaugh loves to run the football. You get, I think, clearly the number 2 running back in this draft in Amari Hampton. Love the pick. I loved Hampton in college. Loved it. Trey Harris, great receiver out of Ole Miss. Great pick there. Put him opposite Lab McConkey. You get a tight end later. We'll see how much playing time he gets. But I think the Chargers put together a really, really solid draft, and I like what their direction there's going. I don't like the direction of the Cincinnati Bengals. And this is – so, okay. We knew the Bengals had to go defense heavy, and they did. But – Shamar Stewart, and I said this live on our draft show, this is not second guessing. The Shamar Stewart pick out of A&M is, to me, the reach of the NFL draft, of the first round of the draft. Shamar Stewart's upside is off the charts. His production was not, and that has to matter at some point. Like, we remember the Bengals last year, took the tackle out of Georgia, the offensive lineman from Georgia, and there were, I think it was Mims. There were some injury concerns. They went upside over production, and it hasn't worked. Then they go Demetrius Knight Jr., linebacker out of South Carolina. Okay. Guard, Dylan Fairchild of Georgia. Okay, I like that. Barrett Carter of Clemson, Jalen Rivers. Barrett Carter, linebacker from Clemson, offensive guard, Jalen Rivers out of Miami. Running back Taj Brooks from Texas Tech. It's not a bad pick. The problem, though, with the Bengals is running back is really their offensive line. But that's a year's project, building an offensive line. Bengals have one of the worst running back rooms in the NFL, and what it would do for Joe Burrow. I mean, we saw it with Joe Mixon. We've literally seen the impact that a good running back can have on an offense to kind of take that pressure off Burrow and Chase and Higgins, who had career years last year, and it got them 9-8. It got them nothing. getting a running back in there, getting a good running game to take the pressure off Burrow. And in the deepest running back draft in years, they wait till the 6th round to take one. And they go with their offensive lineman in the middle of the draft. Like I don't think the Bengals, and then they go with the biggest reach of the first round in Shamar Stewart. People are saying Tyler Booker to Dallas was a reach. It was a reach, but at the same time, it's the best guard on the board. Dallas needs a guard. And did you see, I mean, again, I don't want to be sentimental here. Tyler Booker could not have been more thrilled to be a Dallas Cowboy. And then you can, he's a captain in Alabama. Like that's a good pick by Dallas. A little bit of a reach, but not a bad. Dallas had the Mozzie Smith pick. It's not even the same ballpark as that. Cincinnati's front office has been reaching for years, and this is yet another one. I did not like the Bengals draft whatsoever. I really liked the Las Vegas Raiders draft. It's the last winner of the draft that will go to the last loser. Love the Vegas Raiders draft. So there's a lot here. But and I'll break them down. I'll go over the picks, and then I'll break down the important ones. Running back Ashton Jeanty, Boise State, second in the Heisman. Wide receiver Jack Betch out of TCU. Corner Darian Porter from Iowa State. Offensive tackle Caleb Porter from Texas Tech. Offensive tackle Charles Grant, William & Mary. Wide receiver Deontay Thornton from my University of Tennessee Volunteers. Go Vols. Defensive tackle Tonka Hemingway from South Carolina. Defensive tackle J.J. Pages from Ole Miss. Quarterback Cam Miller from North Dakota State, and linebacker Cody Lindenberg from Minnesota. I want to focus on the Raiders' first 6 picks. And let's go and put that back up there. So Jeanty at 6, I said the next day, I loved the pick. I had Jeanty mocked into the Raiders in all 3 of my mock drafts. Pete Carroll, I've talked about this ad nauseum, but Pete Carroll loves his star backs to be the focal point of an offense. Reggie Bush at USC, Beast Mode at Seattle. He wants Ashton Jeanty to be that guy, and I think Ashton Jeanty is capable of being that guy. The Raiders need help on the outside, so they go get one out of TCU. Love the pick, okay? Darian Porter, solid pick, Iowa State. Then they go 2 tackles. Again, middle of the draft, okay. But the Raiders have needed some offensive line help for some time, so they go back-to-back picks, literally not just their back-to-back picks, the back-to-back picks, 98 and 99 in the draft, go with a tackle from Texas Tech, and then one from William & Mary. And then to round it out, again, another receiver and a speedster. Deontay Thornton from my University of Tennessee Vols. This guy is a burner. This guy will be... Listen, Geno Smith does like to throw the deep ball. I think he'll have a good connection with Geno. He's a really good route runner. I think the Raiders had a great draft, and you're seeing day by day that influence from Tom Brady and the ownership group. Pete Carroll's the head coach. I love what the Raiders are doing in the direction that they're going. That AFC West is just a gauntlet. It's unbelievable. So, I mean, if the Raiders are the worst team, they're the greatest 4th place team in NFL history, for real. And then the last loser of the draft. I'm always objective. It's my Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. So before we I want back on camera for just a second. If we had to come into this draft, if you and I had a conversation, and I asked you, of the 2 sides of the ball, where are the Pittsburgh Steelers more stable? Where are they stronger? Offense or defense? I don't care who you are listening. Your answer would be defense. It would be unanimous. The Pittsburgh Steelers do defense really well. They always have. That's their culture. They do defense great. And so what do they do? Listen, first of all, most importantly, the first pick, defensive tackle, Derek Carman out of Oregon, who's a really good player and nothing but the best. Derek Carman, his family, prayers for his family. His mother had been on life support. He was able to tell her that he was drafted by the Steelers right before she passed the next day. So big time prayers to the Harmon family. All the best to them. And I think Derek Carman's actually an excellent player. So I'm not even mad at that first pick. If they weren't high in Shedeur, okay. And they obviously had intel Shedeur was going to fall. So you go Derek Carman first pick. No problem with that. And I like Derek Carman coming into the draft. Put the rest back up. Running back Caleb Turner from Iowa. Okay. They need help in the backfield. The Caleb Turner, 3rd round pick from Iowa. Then this is where it gets confusing. Okay, edge Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. Again, this is another situation where good player. Jack Sawyer was a monster at Ohio State and was huge in that playoff run. Had the play of the game, obviously, against Texas in that semifinal game. Okay. The Steelers' strong suit of their entire football team is edge. TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig. They're fine. The Steelers have a great pass rush. You don't need another one. I know the Eagles do it. The Eagles are stacked everywhere else. They have the luxury to be able to go after other edge rushers and other defensive linemen. The Steelers do not have that luxury. After that, put this back up. They go with another defensive tackle. Yahya Black from Iowa, after they just drafted Derek Harmon, after they already have Cam Hayward. And then they go Will Howard, quarterback out of Ohio State. So again, I think Will Howard, again, seems like to be a good kid. I watched him at Kansas State and Ohio State. He's fine. He's got a solid deep ball. It's a lot easier to have a solid deep ball when you're throwing to Mika Ibuka and Jeremiah Smith. I'll say that. And when you're playing with the most talented team in college football, either that or Texas. And then they go, and again, another defensive player, a linebacker, Carson Bruner from Washington. And then another defensive player, Dante Kim from Central Michigan, which the Steelers actually do kind of need help. That's kind of the weak point of their defense is the back end. But, I mean, you look at this draft, the Steelers they have 5 picks and they use 2 of them on offense. I mean, they are stuck in 1975. It's unbelievable. And this will be the first moment, and it's a fortunate way to close the show given how many topics we had. I've been flirting with it for a while. I'm willing to go all in on it now. And it's too late to do it in the here and now to make this call, obviously. But after the season's over, it's time for the Steelers to move on from Mike Tomlin. I've said that it's good for both sides to move on because Tomlin, I do still think, is a great coach and would be a great culture builder for somebody. He's allergic. He's got an allergic reaction to offense. I mean, it's last year. I actually thought the Steelers had a good draft. They took some tackles. They took Roman Wilson. Like, hey, they're going offense in this draft. Here we go. This maybe is a changing of the time. No, they don't. And if there's people saying, well, the Steelers didn't take Shedeur Sanders. They didn't get the quarterback of this draft. They didn't get Shedeur because, it's a lot of distractions. The Steelers are all business. Then why are they in the business for Aaron Rodgers? Why are they in the business for a guy who is not going to be a long-term option? Listen, whether you think Shedeur is or isn't, there's a better chance he is than Aaron Rodgers just on age. Okay, Shedeur's 21, 22. Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. So it's watching this. I mean, I remember I'm looking up 5th round. I'm like, wait, we took a defensive tackle. What? I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it right now. Pittsburgh, after this season, fire Mike Tomlin. It's time. It's time. Your wide receiving core is not deep. You need to move on from George Pickens, which I still think they very well could before the season starts or during the season. Love DK Metcalf. The running back room need help. You addressed it. The O-line's not good. The quarterback room is atrocious. They're tone deaf to it. Mike Tomlin has an allergic reaction to offense, and it's time to move on. I've said it's a quarterback's league. It's certainly an offensive league. The Steelers are a great defensive culture, and I think they will be for the rest of time. That's just who they are. Great. You won Super Bowls with great offenses. You won Super Bowls with Terry Bradshaw and Lynn Swann and Franco Harris and others. I get the steel curtain. I get that. You needed the offense to back them up. Okay? You won Super Bowls with Big Ben and Hines Ward and Santonio Holmes. That's who the Steelers are. Is that if the defense is going to be the story, fine. You need a great offense to back them up in 2025 in the National Football League, and they seem almost like they're out to prove a point that we're going to do it the opposite way. And what you're going to get out of that, because Tomlin is still a great coach, you'll get 9 wins, 10 wins, and either barely miss the playoffs or get smoked in round 1. They are running on a treadmill right now. It is time to move on for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, now they're not going to do it in April, nor should they. After the season's over, whether it's in week 18 or the wild card round, fire Mike Tomlin. It's time. It's gotten ridiculous at this point how addicted this guy and this franchise is to mediocrity. It's time to move on. So I hated the Steelers draft. Hated it. Didn't even dislike the first 2 picks. After that, awful. Awful draft by Pittsburgh. Awful draft by the Bengals. Terrible draft for Atlanta. Great draft for the Chargers, Bears, and Raiders. Everyone else I just kind of have, in between. I do winners and lose for all 32 teams, but this is an hour-plus show. This is not a 3-hour podcast, so there you go. All right, that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving Up Live on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time right here on YouTube, as well as on X. We got a ton of content coming forward. I would have to imagine by Friday, there's a chance maybe the Warriors have advanced to the second round. The Lakers will be playing. Oh, no, the Lakers could be done too, obviously, because they play Wednesday as well, along with Golden State. So, Friday could be a really interesting show, either Friday or a week from today. Definitely want to stay tuned for a potential open. That's all I'll say. But until then, everybody stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. Ime, Hold that L, bro. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.